Judge Andrew Napolitano joins us now, Newsmax senior judicial analyst. Judge, I'm refreshing online. It looks like more identities have been revealed, and we'll continue to learn more about those who've been killed. But you just think, what does justice even look like for these individuals? The suspect is dead. That is a great question. The suspect is dead. He appears not to have any assets. Insurance does not cover a criminal act. So the bottom line is there's really no one for the injured and the families of the deceased to sue. You can't sue the police for failure to protect you. You can't sue the FBI for failure to protect you. You can't sue the city. It's a tragedy all around. Wow. Even the fact that those barriers had not been in place, you wouldn't be able to go anything about that?
Well, that's a judgment call made by the police as to where to put the barriers. Look, if the barriers, if he rammed the barriers with his car and the barriers collapsed, theoretically you could sue the manufacturer of the barriers. But that's not the case. The police exercised their judgment as to where to place the barriers so that police could get through, not taking into account the fact that he could get through. That is probably protected behavior, meaning immune from litigation.
Wow. We were talking about this earlier in our reporting. Our correspondent Leonardo Feldman was in Houston, Texas, just outside where the suspect had been staying, residing at a rental property. The FBI had confirmed that they'd found equipment used to make makeshift bombs, right? Chemicals that would align with something like that, and also religious texts, including the Quran. So, you know, does that sort of help us get more of a picture of who this suspect was?
It does give us a picture that this is a former military person who served honorably, which is a relatively low bar, but he served honorably, who somehow became radicalized. The religious texts are absolutely protected. There are some cities that require reporting when bomb materials are sold, but what's a bomb material? If he bought all this stuff at so many different places, nobody's in a position to connect the dots. I know a lot of people feel we got to strike out at this. There's got to be a way to stop this from happening. There must be somebody to blame. This guy appears to have slipped through every crack that's out there. There doesn't seem to have been a way to have stopped this. A loner who became radicalized and embittered. But I sat here with you. When this first happened, we were convinced that this was the product of a conspiracy. I think the FBI, for once, did a professional and admirable job of dispelling that notion immediately. There are not conspirators running around New Orleans ready to attack again. Relax, the only perpetrator is dead.
Yeah, and there had been some initial conversations about whether or not he had acted alone because there were the presence of these IEDs placed throughout the French Quarter, and that's a very popular area. And if you've got a cooler coming up, maybe people thought they were going to grab a drink from it. Obviously, that wasn't the case, so they ruled out co-conspirators. Here you see this placed, and thankfully they were able to disassemble this device, so no one was injured from this exploding there. But it just kind of reminds me, and I know maybe a cooler on the street when you're celebrating New Year's Eve doesn't seem so unusual, but a reminder, really, if you see something that's out of place, you got to say something about it.
Correct. I mean, it reminds me of the Boston Marathon bomber. It wasn't a cooler, it was a, what are those things you cook a pot roast in?
Oh, pressure cooker.
It was a pressure cooker. Now, you see a pressure cooker on the street? Well, that's very unusual. Are you going to call the police? You should.
Yeah. Absolutely. We were showing live images here that was Bourbon Street. And again, memorial is in place. The flowers placed there, candles, and a cross. Prayers, obviously, for the family, the victims and those who are recovered, hopefully on their way to recovery right now in the hospital. Judge Napolitano, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, Emma.
All right. Take care.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.